Hello everyone, this is Hershey Rajaram here, and this is the first part of my Moderna COVID-19 jab experience. I am breaking it up into two parts because the first part is going to have to do with the real reason why I actually got vaccinated and a lot of thoughts and feelings regarding that situation that led up to the event of vaccination itself. And the second part is going to be a separate video where I talk about the injury and the post effects of all that. So if you're wanting to just listen about all of what happened just surrounding the vaccine itself alone, you're going to want to check out the part 2 of this video, because part 1 is going to be regarding things that led up to the event itself. So in this video, I do want to set essentially the guidelines that there is going to be information shared and given, either personal information regarding recording of conversations that are going to be played. There is public information that is going to be shared. There's going to be screenshots and pictures, and there's going to be essentially a lot of me calling some people out and just venting my overall frustrations regarding the situation, because this is kind of the part of the whole event that I've had suppressed for quite some time, and now that I'm in a position to kind of discuss it, I want to get it off my chest. And this is also me asking for help. I am reaching out for people that can, potentially contact me and, offer some help and some guidance, because I'm not sure what to do in this situation. I have an idea, obviously, as I go along, but it's very complex, and it's very hard for me to essentially come to terms with the fact that I'm here. And I'm not just talking about, being injured by Moderna. So without further ado, the reason why I got vaccinated truly has nothing to do with the federal mandate whatsoever. It actually has to do with this guy right here. His name is Jose Cendeno. This is my previous supervisor for the company I used to work at. I don't know if you guys recognize it. This is FEAA. If you guys are aware about any student loans, public service loan forgiveness, federal student aid, things like that they work with and things. This is a student loan servicer. They handle American Education Services and FedloanServicing. They also deal with currently public service loan forgiveness at this time. I think they're getting ready to still transfer that. But this is the company I used to work for with that supervisor here. So the reason I am kind of putting this out on the table is because I feel that there are things that need to be said, because certain things that happen to me are uncalled for and blatantly just illegal. Had it not been for him, like I said, I would not have gotten vaccinated, and that's so important for me to have out there. I know I repeat myself a lot, and I don't mean to, but I think I've just been so traumatized about the experience that I went through prior to getting vaccinated, that after I had gotten vaccinated, I feel like it made it so much worse. So just a little bit of a background. I started FEAA April 8th of, I believe, 2018. And I worked there for nearly 3 years. In the beginning, I had no issues at FEAA whatsoever. I actually really enjoyed working for FEAA. And to be honest with you, I initially started working under this guy right here, John Carter. And I was on his team and under his management all the way up until June of 2021. And I was under Jose's management for about a little over 4 months. Under John, I had no issues. I did not fear for my life. I didn't feel harassed. I don't feel like he violated any laws. I don't feel like he coerced me to violate anything that was illegal. I just never felt some sort of kind of negative way towards him. Everything was fine. Fast forward kind of to where things became an issue is when management started switching things around. So night shift people would go to a nighttime supervisor, day shift people would go to a daytime supervisor. Okay. People are starting to move around the company and they're starting to leave the company, which is understood. So I initially was told that there was going to be a little bit of a wait, but that I was going to transfer to a different team because John was days and I was nights. I thought that there was going to be more time before the move happened, and that's what I was told. But within days, I would say about 4 days, I was switched on over to Jose's team. And honestly, I think it was the worst mistake ever. Because that's when things went downhill, and they went downhill fast. From the very beginning, I noticed that Jose was overbearing to a point where it was just blatant harassment. He has a style, I guess, of managing, which I don't really know. As we go along, you'll see. I don't really think he manages much of anything, but he has a style of constantly hounding you about things to a point where you're constantly on edge. No matter what you do, no matter how good you think you are at doing something, he'll find something to pick at you for. And that was very, very, very early on that I noticed that. And now, like I said, once again, I was only on his team for just over 4 months. And very early on, I started reaching out to people and I started telling people, like, hey, this really stresses me out. I remember telling one of my fellow teammates who ended up leaving the company a few months back, I'd say about 9 months ago or so. But I said, listen, I'm really stressed out ever since I got to Jose's team. She's like, what stresses you out? And I was like, well, John never nitpicked at me as bad as Jose does. I just feel at that point he was nitpicking at me so bad. I felt like everything that John had taught me was incorrect. Like I felt like John led me down a different path, and it was not right. Although I had been, prior to Jose, I had been hitting incentive. When they offered the incentive program, I hit incentive starting 5 months on the floor, which I thought was really good until they stopped it. And so that was pretty consistent, and I was proud of that. And under Jose, I really didn't do anything different. I did learn some good things. I did learn techniques on how to be a bit more sufficient than what I was on John's team before, and that was cool. But where things kind of took a real bad left turn real fast is where I noticed that professionalism was not there. And there was a lot of not taking responsibility for knowing certain things, especially things regarding the law that he should have known. One of the things that really bothered me is he would make up his own rules and then hold you to those rules. And then if you didn't want to abide by them, it got really awkward and really creepy. And the first thing was he had a team requirement that everybody have a team photo. And I didn't feel comfortable putting my photo on there. You know, it's not so much, well, why don't you want to? If the answer is no, the answer is no. It wasn't a company requirement. I didn't want to do it. But every so often, he would be like, well, do you want to put a picture up there? I want to see you. Put a picture up there. If you don't have a photo that you can upload, you can email me one and I can upload it for you. Or I can just take your badge photo and I can put it on there so you have a photo in Teams chat. And it got to a point where I just felt really uncomfortable. I'm like, dude, the answer is no. I even reached out to a different supervisor and I was like, is this company policy to do this? Like, do I have to do this? And she was like, no, you don't have to do it. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do it. He did continue to reach out about it. And I was like, thinking to myself, no, I don't want to get into an argument about it. So I'm like, that's a little weird. Another time I reached out to one of my fellow co-workers that was on John's team. And I had confided in him. This was, I believe, July 14th. And I had vented my frustrations about what was going on with Jose being overbearing. And I was like, to also mention that there was one time that Jose had me do a follow-up on an account. And I had an issue doing a follow-up on this account because the account was already current. I had already done a callback, put my notes in for the for the next representative to do the call and follow up. And I sent Jose the screenshot of the proof. Essentially, long story short, with this is Jose wanted me to repeat the process when he was available as if I didn't do it the first time, which I didn't feel comfortable with because I know legally there's only so much we can do. And if we push the envelope on certain things like that, we can get in trouble. So I didn't feel comfortable. But of course, under Jose, I did it. I didn't want to feel harassed in that sort of way. So there was things like that was going on. And then another thing that got me big time was unprofessionalism in the group chat through Microsoft Teams. There were a couple of times that a certain co-worker had made jokes, supposedly jokes, about killing people. And it happened the first time. I felt uncomfortable, so I was going to do a complaint. But then as I was doing the complaint, it happened a second time. Like the day I was doing the complaint, and I was like, ooh, I don't really feel comfortable. The CEO, this is around the time that the CEO here, Jim Steely, made these little plates using my tools, had made an announcement that people were to return back to headquarters part-time, which is where I worked, corporate headquarters for FDCPA. And he was like, you need to be cautious about people's thoughts and feelings about, being away from the workplace for so long and working at home to returning to the office. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And then this one guy comes along on the team that he came over with me from John's team, and he's sitting there making a joke about how he's a whipped slave and FDCPA treats him, like he's just run down, whatever, making jokes about that. And I remember clearly the first time he said the kill threat, he was like, who do I have to kill? And he was like, just kidding. And I'm like, that's really awkward. So then a couple weeks later, I get ready to essentially draft a couple other things in an email. And he makes a second kill threat, implying that essentially there was going to be him killing multiple people. And I'm like, okay. So that was going in the complaint. And another thing that, and now keep in mind, while I'm complaining about this and trying to bring it to Jose's attention, just for the purpose of covering all my bases, Jose sends me back some crap article or whatever that we utilize to reference things, saying, professionalism between a representative and somebody who calls in. That was it. That's how he dealt with the situation. He essentially didn't deal with it at all. And I'm like, okay. So, I go ahead and put in my complaint. And another thing in that complaint was also the fact that Jose also made references to essentially he didn't want to abide by, I guess, the ADA laws. If you look back there, there you go. That is my walker. I have had cerebral palsy essentially since the second day I was born. So one of the things I've struggled with throughout my life is I need additional bathroom breaks. And so essentially I had gotten an ADA accommodation to, allow me to be able to split up my break time, my 30-minute allotted time, to accommodate that. And that was approved. Okay. And so I was protected in that area. And multiple times, Jose he didn't allow me the freedom to use that accommodation appropriately. And I was under my time. And I'm like, dude, what is going on? And if it wasn't one reason, it was another. He would be like, I didn't understand that. I didn't see that. He kept saying, I misconstrued what he was saying. That's a common thing he says a lot. Essentially, any time that he's not right or any time he can look like he's in a bad light, then somebody else is wrong. So I put that in my complaint too. And then another thing that I drafted in this email was one time where I reached out to somebody for certain statistics to kind of show my progress within the company, where I was at a certain time to where the company standards were and how I essentially, Ephesians 3:20, my success. I went above and beyond what the company wanted me to do. So I reached out to Mitch, who was, I guess, a supervisor for the customer service experience. And I said, hey, can you help me compile some information if I, find a way to get it to you or whatever? And he's like, yeah, let me reach out to a supervisor that would have that information and I can give that for you. I can draft it up. So I was like, okay, not a big deal. I genuinely thought that he was going to reach out to John because incentive at that time, extra bonus money related to the federal contract wasn't being given out because the federal contract, as everybody knows, has been on hold for quite some time. I think March of 2020. So essentially 2 years now it's been on hold. So I had no idea at all what the process was of obtaining that information. Within about 10 minutes or so, Jose had sent me an IM, basically copying and pasting Mitch's request for the information. And he was like, hey, if there's something you need, then you can come to me and request it or whatever. So in short, just basically don't talk to anybody else but me. That is where it just went downhill for me because I was like, I can't with this guy. So I initially ended up reaching out to another supervisor, Tabitha, who said to me, she was like, hey, you can go ahead and file a complaint. I tried to tell her what was going on, and I was so scared in that moment of reaching out to her that I literally waited until we had a diversity, equality, and inclusion training. I think that's what it is, DEI training, because I didn't want Jose to know that I was reaching out to anybody. And I reached out to Tabitha and I said, listen, can we set up a time to meet at headquarters, or can I call you? And, she was like, yeah, well, we can meet at my desk, or whatever on this day. And I was like, listen, I don't want him to see me and then start questioning me about what I'm doing. And she was like, well, he doesn't have a right to know what you're doing. And I was like, but you don't understand. That's how he is. Like, I just don't want to deal with it. I feel very uncomfortable, and it just feels very hostile. And I even suggested to her, I was like, do you want to meet inside of the parking garage around the corner? And essentially what it boiled down to is she was like, why don't we just call each other on Teams after our shift and you can let me know what's going on. So I did that. And then she told me to obviously compose the email. And I apologize if I'm jumping around, but she told me to compose the email. And then she would read it over. And then it would be forwarded on over to her supervisor, which is also his boss. Okay, this lady right here. This is Teresa Clancy, his supervisor. And so at that point, I felt confident, like, hey, after a while, I reached out to some people, I got it situated, I feel confident, I'm not going to have to deal with it much longer. Whew, was I wrong? Let me tell you, within a few days, Teresa reached out to me and fed me some crap about literally how she just made it seem like my complaint and my concerns were not important at all. I remember her clearly saying to me, I can see how you were offended, not worried about the kill threat, but just offended. You were just offended. And now keep in mind, about a couple days prior to this, they sent everybody home. So she would have already seen this email before sending everybody home. So in my mind, how they dealt with it is, okay, there was a kill threat, so we're just going to allow everybody to work from home. Well, going back to the conversation with Teresa, she said, Jose just feels really slighted that you're going around talking to everybody else but him, and you need to be talking to him about things, not going to other people. And I'm thinking to myself, I only reached out to 3 supervisors total, and it was one time each for each of them regarding the situation at hand. Mitch, I don't think counts, so Tavita and then Clea. And he's sitting here, I guess, making it sound like I've been doing it for months. And I'm like, that's not accurate. I'm, sitting here reaching out for help. I obviously felt nervous, and this is where I got upset because right there, like I said, with my walker right there, if a shooting or something did go ahead and break out, I worked on the 4th floor. I wouldn't have time to get out. Like, who's to say that something wouldn't happen? You don't know. And I was trying to, reiterate to her, hey, I don't feel comfortable. Is there a way I can switch to a different supervisor? And she said to me, she was like, we can't be setting the precedence that just because somebody doesn't like their supervisor, that they can switch to their supervisor. So hold on, everybody. So basically, I've brought up somebody who had multiple kill threats. I brought up multiple violations under the ADA. And I also brought up essentially just him being blatantly harassing me about things here and there. And yet you don't see anything about, hey, you know what, we might want to move her. I felt some sort of way. I felt really upset about that. I was like, listen, this is not good. And I knew shortly after she had spoken to him, and this is kind of before her and I had a discussion, she had actually spoken to him days before. So I'm kind of having a discussion with her afterwards. But I was like, I can sense that there's tension there. I can see it, I can sense it. I'm not stupid. And I just felt like it was swept under the rug. And so now keep in mind, this was 2 weeks before I had to decide whether or not to get vaccinated because the deadline was pushed up to December 8th. Everybody had to get fully vaccinated. So this conversation and everything went down October 15th. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, this isn't good, because how am I going to push back on that now when I have all this evidence against this guy, really not giving a care in the world. His supervisor doesn't give a care in the world. I don't know how far it went up the chain, but I just felt like stuck. And, I'm like, I guess I'm kind of stuck, getting the job. And I really didn't want to. And I think that's where I felt totally betrayed, especially upon doing further research, which, let me see, do I have it here? I should have it. Let's see. I had it. Here it is, sorry. Upon doing further research of Teresa Clancy here, I'm going to read something that I'm going to tell you right now. It's looking a little sus, and I'm going to tell you why, because this is a complete double standard, and I need a second opinion on this, okay? So I'm just going to read what it says, then I'm going to kind of pick out certain bullet points of what I've highlighted, okay? So this was written and composed. This is a public review. This is out for everybody to see. If she later deletes it, I have a screenshot of it. So August 17th, 2021. This is 74 days prior to my vaccine injury and 59 days prior to the talk about Jose. So this is prior to me doing the report against Jose and everything that was going on. Apparently, there was a fire alarm last night around 3 in the morning, and we didn't hear it. Tonight, there was another alarm around 8:30, and we could hardly hear the alarm. Not sure how long it was going off before we actually heard it. I'm extremely upset. We are close to the emergency exit, and there is no room for this total disregard for safety. I tried to call the front desk multiple times tonight to have the alarms near the room checked. Alarms near our room checked, but no one answers. I'm typically not one to complain. That's a precursor for here it comes. And I let the outrageous resort fee issue slide, along with many issues with the room leaky sink, no pot holders, dish towels, spatula, no trash cans in the bathrooms, and so much more. These are minor inconveniences, but putting a family's safety at risk is completely unacceptable and intolerable. I'm so disappointed in our stay this year. We've come for many years, and we have always had positive experiences. We own several timeshares and have never had to pay a resort. After the safety concerns, I'm going to have my lawyer look into the legality of it. Teresa, I can't with you. I really, let me just say, and I'm going to put this out there, you just admitted your absolute guilt for how you handled the Jose situation. Let's just put this out there. I was trying to do some research on how long you've been working for FEAA, and I found this little gem that made you look completely stupid. So, first bullet point I highlighted is we are close to the emergency exit and there's no room for this total disregard for safety. Could you imagine if somebody did carry out a kill threat? Me being on the 4th floor and having to choose either being by a bathroom or by an exit, and I had to choose because of my disability to be by a bathroom, how that made me feel, how just thinking about that made me feel. I used to map out on what days who would be where, so if something carried out, who could possibly not end up going home? Like, seriously. Second one, putting a family's safety at risk is completely unacceptable and intolerable. And yet you thought I was merely just offended by a kill threat. Offended, not worried, not anything. Okay, just offended. The last one is, after the safety concern issues, I'm going to have my lawyer look into the legality of it. Okay, is this what you meant by when you said, and I told you, I said, listen, if things don't improve, you know, I'm going to go over your head. Is that what you meant? Because you gave yourself away. All these tools I have here now, everything I've compiled so far, you guys have given me permission to use. And at this point, I'm like, what's going on here? I mean, I got some questions. Because 1 week after the talk with Teresa, there was the announcement that obviously we had to get vaccinated by December 8th. That was 1 week after the talk with Teresa. Okay? So obviously that gave me 2 weeks to decide what weekend I was going to get the vaccine. 2 weeks. That was it. As of, let's see, December 17th, as you all know, shortly after that, so about 9 weeks after December 8th, the deadline, 9 weeks after the deadline, President Biden had essentially been struck down and was told, hey, you can't make federally contracted businesses, which is what FEAA is, you can't make them all get vaccinated. So 9 weeks after the whole ordeal, everything was canceled. So essentially, had I held on for 9 weeks, I wouldn't have gotten injured, ever. I would have never gotten vaccinated, so I would have never had an injury. I cannot explain to anybody how that feels. Because I know now that I was completely mishandled. And there is no room for anybody to try to talk themselves out of saying, I didn't know, she misconstrued. No, it's right here. You knew better. Because if this was your life, if this was you, and you were in my position, you'd be doing the exact same thing. If this doesn't scream entitlement, I don't know what does. And you were on vacation. You're completely able-bodied over by an exit. I'm sitting here saying, listen, I can't get to an exit if something serious happens. I mean, really, you guys, don't even get me started on your how long you've been with the company. You've been with the company, Teresa, for 35 years. That's as long as I've been alive. Give or take a couple extra weeks. That you should know better. That's 15 years longer than your own supervisor. 15 years longer than your own supervisor. You should definitely know better. Oh, this guy right here. Jason Piazza. Welcome to work, dude. That's what we always used to say to each other. Where have you been? Have you even been to work ever since this happened? Because I don't think so. Because you're the, what, Vice President of Delinquency Prevention. You've got 20 years under your belt, man. 20 years under your belt. And this is how things get handled? Not at all. Just swept under the rug. I can tell you, Teresa's rug is full. I found that review like just hanging out in public. Flopping out in the wind, man. You got 20 years under your belt. Jose, you've got 8 years under your belt. To be violating laws the way that you violate laws and to not know as much as you claim to not know, come on, dude. It's not going to fly. It's not going to fly. I don't know how you're going to be able to talk yourself out of this one, but you better come up with an alibi real quick. Because it's not working. And let me just say, John, I'm so disappointed in you. I had a lot of respect for you. I was on your team the longest. I only had you and Jose as supervisors there. and you let me down. I know that for a fact because I had a little birdie on the inside try to reach out to you on my behalf to let you know. I even personally let you know, hey, there's a lot of, situations on Jose's team that are making me feel uncomfortable, man. And you tried to talk me out of it, saying, hey, just, hold on. It's not that serious. You need to give it a little bit of time. Even Teresa, hey, I'm working with them. Give it a little bit of time. Give it a little bit of time. How much time do you need to work with somebody? He wants to boast about how he's got his stuff together. I've got proof of that too. Dude, no more time. You've been working at the company almost 11 years. Your anniversary is coming up in May. If you make it that far, congratulations. But let me tell you something, man. I had a little birdie on the inside come up to you and let you know, hey, things are bad, and you need to try and come to her rescue. And I know you know who that is, and if you don't, I can't help you. I'm not going to help you. I can, but I'm not going to, because you got to start figuring things out yourself. And you essentially just seemed like you didn't want to be bothered with it. Okay, then don't be bothered with it. But you know what? Don't say I didn't warn you guys, because this is completely unacceptable. The harassment, the violation of laws, the treatment, and just complete disregard as if it doesn't matter. But if you were in my position, it would be a completely different situation. This is a student loan company. I just wanted to go to work and do my job. Is this really what's going on behind the scenes, everybody? I don't mean to lose my head over everything, but essentially I almost lost my life. Let me tell you, right here, ever since all this happened, I've gotten a power of attorney and a living and final will. I am 35 years old. Had the situation with Jose been properly handled, I wouldn't be here today. Today, I am essentially unemployed. I was fired officially as of the 1st of March, 2022. So that's 24 days ago. 3 weeks from now, had I not been fired and had none of this transpired, I would be coming up on my 3-year anniversary. I feel like I have been blatantly robbed of a lot. All the way up until my life. And essentially, nobody has really done anything to acknowledge or even try to make amends. It's just, oh, well, we messed up, or oh, there's another excuse, or oh, we don't remember. Listen, I'm going to play some little clips for you guys just because, just to put this out there. I want you guys to hear some of these things, only a few, not a lot, but just to kind of get the gist of some of the things I've said before. And then I'm going to wrap this up. So, another thing that I noticed was she kept talking as if she was hoping that I wasn't going to have enough time to rebuttal. And I stopped her a couple times and I was like, listen, for one, he's fluffing how many times I'm going to other people. So that's one. Number two, I'm giving him opportunities to communicate and converse. And he doesn't want to hear it. He wants to shut me down. He wants to take me not seriously. And he still wants to come at me with his level of arrogance and know-it-all. And I told her, I said, he's very hot and cold. I don't have time for no hot and colds. I'm 2 steps away from just periodically just being like, well, John said when I was on John's team, blah, 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 John Jacob, Jingleheimer, John Smith. It's just to tickle his balls. I just feel, and I don't know if you pick up, if you need clarification on anything, just ask. I don't know if you pick up on this either, but I just kind of feel like it was a sweep under the rug, especially who they went to in HR. They went to Stephen Kelly, which to me, I explained to my girlfriend, is a cross between Mr. Rogers and that passive teacher in South Park with Mr. Hat. Like, I just felt like that was the wrong HR person to go to, who's like just nonchalant, like, hey, it's okay. No, dude, get your shit together, because if you don't, I'm going to get it together for you and put it off to the left outside. If it's not one thing with Jose, it's another. And I'm like, dude, stop. Like, I can't. I don't feel comfortable going into work. And, she had mentioned a couple times, and this is what kind of got under my skin. Outside of him trying to, like, fluff things, was the fact that she was like, oh, we can't just move somebody if they don't like their supervisor. I'm thinking to myself, no, little witch. I'm, like, telling you right now, the more agitation he causes me and the more evidence I'm gathering, I'm getting ready to go above your head now. I'm not going to keep playing this back and forth, back and forth. It was either her or ethics. If that doesn't work, then I'll go to her supervisor. I don't know what to do. Like, my hands are tied. Like, I'm not going to keep doing this. And she was like, well, I just had to work with him about this. I had to work with him about that. And I'm like, for as cocky and as arrogant as he is, he needs to come correct. Like, he is just so full of himself. He's, like, really cocky, very arrogant, very into himself. He thinks he knows everything. But yet, you go to call him out on his stuff, and he's like, oh, well, changes, or, oh, like, I'm learning too. You're going to play one side of the coin, pony boy. Like, I can't. Like, I just can't. Like, I don't know what to do. And the structure of the team is falling apart because the one person that he was really cliquey with is not there anymore. I think they were going to get ready to fire her anyway because some of the stuff that she was saying. She said that she did mention to him, though, she was like, with the ADA accommodation, she was like, you need to be very careful with that because that is running into some legal issues that we don't want to be a part of. And then he tried to talk himself out of that, too. I had no idea. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. No, I was trying to fill you in. You came at me like you didn't want to hear it. So don't be trying to backpedal, talk your way out of it, because you know what? Now we're really going to be rifting. I mean, we're really going to be rifting, dude. And it's awkward. And I'm about to make it more awkward. And then, like, later on, even yesterday, I got, like, stuff in my throat. I'm sorry. But yesterday, I went to go ahead and reach out to him. And this is when, after I had spoken to her, and I was having tech issues, like, all day for, like, the last 2 days. And then 3,000 couldn't handle it, so 3,000 sent it to AM Tech. And AM Tech tried to get the issue resolved. And I spoke to Shane specifically, and he couldn't get it. He was like, my hands are tied. I don't know what to do. And it was a live box issue, not popping the accounts. And he was like, I don't know what to do. And of course, I'm here. I've never had to do this with John. But I told him like 3 or 4 times. I was like, can you please send him an IM or send me an email of what's been accomplished and what you're advising? Because I need to answer to Jose for every little thing. Every little thing that Jose wants, he needs proof of. If you go and touch an account to fix it, he needs proof. But yet, he'll sit there and waste your time and not even think of it. And it's really annoying. So then he goes back, and I'm supposed to have this meeting about the, like, equity or equality or whatever, and about changes within FEAA. And he says to me, he was like, well, make sure that whoever you're speaking to in the meeting knows that you're having system issues and this needs to be resolved. It needs to be a priority. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so what do you expect me to do? Like, what do you want me to do? Like, 3,000 is telling me to go to AM Tech. AM Tech is like, stay in inbound, stay productive until we figure it out. And it's happened before with Livebox before we went to CRM. It's fine. Be productive, get money for the business, move forward. Jose wants to sit there and act like there's some alternate solution, like, hey, you need to figure something out. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. I just got off the phone with his supervisor and he wants to keep pushing the issue. So that's just some of what I'm talking about, you guys. And that's just specs. That's it. That's specs. And it didn't stop. He doesn't stop. Like, it's 8 years. He should know better. Like, I don't know what you guys are doing back there in the back scenes of things, but I said, and I'm going to reiterate this again, this was corporate of FEAA, corporate headquarters. You know, I've got this girl involved, her. He obviously knew what he was doing because he always acts like he knows what he's doing unless it makes him look like he doesn't. You know, this guy was aware, chose not to essentially do anything or even speak up. Jason, like I said, that's her supervisor. I mean, what else was I supposed to do? You know, I don't know what to do. And of course, nobody knows where this guy is because there's already a whole bunch of crap under his crap shoots. So, man, what's going on? I'm reaching out. I'm putting the SOS out there. I know this video might sound a little jumbled, and I don't mean for it to, but geez, Tucker Carlson, I know I watch a lot of Fox News. Yeah, I don't know, maybe you can reach out and help me do a little bit of investigating. I have no idea. Salty Cracker, I let my salt flow. I love your YouTube channel, but I mean, maybe you can give me some advice. I don't know. But I know that I'm not going to let things go. How I was treated is absolutely uncalled for, and it needs to be addressed in a very big way because I have even more stuff that I'm not sharing with anybody because I don't know where everything is going to lead. But fact of the matter is, y'all need to get your stuff together and stop trying to hide whatever's going on. You still got a lot of, you know, private clients and things you deal with. Some of those clients, and all this is public knowledge here, just to put this out here, outside of you servicing your own private loans under American Education Services, you got Brazos, Citizens Bank, Ed Financial, Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority, which is also known as MEFA. You got PNC, you got SunTrust, US Bank, USAA, and Wells Fargo. And that's just to name a few of people that you guys do business with. But at the same time, on the back end, this is how you're handling your employees. And I really didn't deserve how I got treated. I really did not deserve it. And like I said, the majority of this information, if I didn't offer it, which was okay to share, it was public. Or, you know, just like Jose said, I used my tools, snip, snip, screenshots. Got a whole bunch of those, got a whole bunch of pictures I showed you. I got some more. Or just like you said, Teresa, I could go above and beyond your head. So, okay, you gave me permission. Okay, I'm not using anything out of my own authority. So, I don't know what is the next steps here, but I'm putting this SOS out there, not just for myself. If I wanted to handle things just for myself, I would have done that already. But I know that there are so many other people that are dying to come forward that don't have the courage to go ahead and do so. And I'm happy to report that after praying about this and just surrendering to whatever comes of this, I've got my bravery coming back. I'm putting my foot forward and putting myself out there because I've already been put out in the cold anyway. I'm waiting for food stamps, getting back on Social Security payments because of everything that this has done for me. And I want you to know that had you made the right steps and had you done what you did to keep me safe, I wouldn't be here. But you chose not to do it and you knew what you were doing. So don't try to speak your way out of it like you had no idea. You absolutely knew what you were doing. And you, yes, are responsible. In a very big way, you are responsible. And now I know why nobody wanted to call me back or return my calls and speak to me. Just as an employee, being casual, trying to offer up information and still be on that personal level. Because you have a level of guilt, and maybe it needs to be there. because condemnation leads to death, but conviction leads to change, and there needs to be some convictions had, because there needs to be some serious changes, because I'm not letting this go. So if there is anyone out there that can offer some advice, please share this video, get the word out. You know, I need some help. I'm trying to do all the footwork that I can, but I can only do so much. You know, this vaccine injury is a long, slow healing process that I'm still trying to get over and get to. Like I said, the second part of this two-part video, because this is almost an hour long, is going to be in its own video. So if you just want to go and hear about my experience with what the vaccine has done to me, things like that, I'll be posting a video here shortly. But as far as this goes, no. You guys aren't getting away with anything. I don't know. I don't know what you guys are going to do, but you know what? Here, Jose. You happy you got your picture? Are you happy? It's right here. You shouldn't have messed with me, dude. I told you. I told you, and I made it known. No, man. I got you. I got you. So, I mean, I don't know what you want. And everybody else can thank this guy too. Because we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for this guy. We would not be here today if it wasn't for this guy. And we wouldn't be here today as well if it wasn't for her condoning his behavior. So I hope whoever sees this, when management finally does see it, gets quite a wake-up call. Because you need it. Big time. Anyone else that wants to contact me, you can look me up on realnotrare.com. The best way to get a hold of me is through my GoFundMe link at the bottom of that page, at the bottom of my story on that website. You can email me through there. I also have an Outlook email that is my first dot last name at outlook.com. So if you're trying to get a hold of me, you can reach me through there. Right now, I am staying off social media just because I'm trying to keep my head right. But I hope to hear from somebody. I hope this touches people in a way that's quite a wake-up call. You know, even though this should be separate, it's not. I mean, I want answers, and I don't think I'm going to get them going through the proper channels, because obviously I wasn't treated right going through the proper channels. And I don't think that this is how businesses should be running their back ends. So if you're still watching, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Please spread the word. Get this video out there as quick as possible. And really let people know to, I guess, reach out, wake up, do whatever you've got to do. But I really appreciate your love and support. Thank you.